Back at it on Can Sports Chatter as we bring in our next guest, and that is Nate Schmitt. He is the head coach of the Wichita Collegiate boys basketball team, off to a great start and by most rankings across the state, number one in Class 3A. Hey, Coach, appreciate your time. And for you, like as we kind of dive into mid-January, what's the energy level right now for you and the team?
Yeah. First of all, Cole, thanks for having me. And you said it, the word is energy. For some reason, that's been kind of the word around our program lately. And we're just, trying to, bring that every day in practice, and every game. You kind of utilize that, just because of the style of play, to help us get a little bit better. And we've had that in every game so far, and just trying to be consistent with that in practice, and in hopes to help us make a run later on in the season.
Well, I know the record speaks for itself so far at this point in the season, Coach. But I mean, what has the transition been like for you in your first year at Collegiate after spending time at Lakin?
Yeah. It kind of crazy how it all happened. I've known Coach Fiegel for quite a while, and I wasn't really looking to leave. I was happy where I was, and but when Collegiate calls you, that's a call you take. And the people here have been great, so very welcoming to my family, and very helpful and supportive. And obviously Coach has done a tremendous job here, over 30 years, and, has left the program in fantastic shape. And we've got some players, as you know, so that makes it easier. And Collegiate is a very special place. If you want to work and you want to be successful, there's a foundation here to do that.
You mentioned Mitch Fiegel. I mean, when did that kind of relationship with him start for you as a coach?
Yeah, so I've always admired collegiate basketball and just how they play and the defense decides. And it was different. There was nobody else like that. And so one day about 9 years ago, I shot him an email. I'd never spoke to him before, and luckily for me, he responded, and just asked if I could pick his brain or come meet him. And one meeting turned into a phone call, and then it just became something that was yearly and monthly and weekly, and 9 years of just kind of getting to know him. And he kind of always said that I was the only one that's crazy enough to come back and keep learning. And so who would have ever thought that it would lead to this? So still talk to Coach quite often, and he's Coach is the man. And I'm very honored to be here, and I know that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. So
when you accepted the position there at Collegiate, like what were his first words to you after you took the job?
yeah, I mean, Coach has been great. Like, it wasn't, I guess he congratulated me. He was honest with me. He says, hey, here's a couple things that you need to do, and here's a couple phone numbers that'll get you started, and just all the things. Collegiate is it's a different place. It's a great place, but it's a different place. And so he, I don't know if there's anything specifically that he said, but he definitely prepared me and set me up to be successful, and so forever grateful for that. And so yeah, I mean, we talk quite a bit, but he probably tries to give me more space than he needs to. But I do have Coach Watson on staff, which was his right hand man for 20 years, and so I've got him there too. So it's just like having Coach here with me.
All right, so is there like a playbook for when you take over a program? Like, what are like the first things that you do? Like when you kind of stepped in and you got to know the team, or at least met them, like what were the first steps that you wanted to take as you kind of establish your own program?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we wanted to put together a good staff, and I think we've definitely done that. And I delegate a lot of things amongst our staff because we have such an incredible staff. So we feel like we can be a lot more effective and efficient. In fact, as of most recent, we're five coaches on staff. We take six players a week that's our responsibility, and we're developing relationships with them, and checking in on them, doing mid-season evals with them and stuff. And so getting those guys, on board, and teaching them what it is that we want to do, and then having them start building relationships with guys on the team, that was the first priority. After that, it was 100% building relationships with the guys. We only got 4 days this summer because of the timing of the hire and everything. So, it's kind of crazy to think we're having the success we're having with no summer,
Yeah.
and through this transition, and so, building the staff and then, developing relationships with the guys on the team. But, I also, took it upon myself to start reaching out to alumni and, the former players that built this program into what it is, and just introducing myself and, getting to know them and picking their brain and, basically just meeting as many people as I can here and listening and taking it all in.
So when you arrive, like how much do you kind of tweak? And people have seen, your first 8+ games now, but like for you, like how much do you tweak of, especially for those guys that were seniors and juniors that have kind of gone through the program?
Yeah, and that's what's made it a smooth transition is, where things are a little bit different, but a lot of things are very similar. And so, we still believe that defense decides championships, and where coach probably was running and jumping a lot more with his guys, we're maybe a little more aggressive. Full court man minus the running and jumping. We're still struggling a little bit once we get in the half court. We're more of a scouting report defense in the half court. So that's probably been the biggest challenge is kind of getting the guys to understand that. But as far as the overall defensive beliefs and concepts, they're very similar. Offensively, same thing. We're 4-round-1, 5 out. We're playing fast. We're hunting the paint. We're shooting a ton of threes. But I mean, I have a couple of, a few rules offensively,
Sure.
but I think maybe I give them a little more freedom offensively than what they're used to. And again, they're playing their tails off on defense for me. I kind of let them go offensively a little bit.
All right, so like even me, like just watching clips and watching moments from your game so far in the season, and other people that I've heard talk about, collegiate basketball, is just how nasty that full court pressure is. I mean, not to reveal any secrets, but like what makes that so effective? Because a lot of people press, but don't have that same outcome. So like for you, like what's key in a full court pressure?
Yeah. Well, we're a pressing team. We're not a team that presses, and people in our program, they understand that. It's just not a drill that we do occasionally or set aside 15 minutes for it. Everything we do goes into that. It transitions into it. We build our entire practice schedule. We build everything around that. And it's not a secret. We're not going to come out and do something different just because of who we play. This is who we are, and this is how we're going to play. But we used to have a thing back in Lakin, and it was called, we tabbed it as press mentality, and it's the mentality piece that makes the press special. And it's a intensity and an attitude and an energy level that's just relentless. We're right there. It's no free dribbles for 32 minutes, and that's how we want to play. And we're just hopeful over time. It's something that our opponents haven't seen. I mean, it's tough to prepare for or to simulate in practice. So and when we're really good there, that just seems to spark our offense. And then when we're on offensively, man, it's it's something special to see.
Had probably one of your closer games this past weekend against Pratt. What stood out? I mean, a talented Pratt team, but like, what stood out in that game that kind of allowed you guys to get over the edge there?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We had back-to-backs, within 24 hours with two of the top teams in 4A. So very, very challenging for us. But just we have some very, very talented players, right? And so we could talk system, we can talk, scouting report, all of these things. But at the end of the day, we have some guys that love basketball and spend a ton of time playing, and they're just playing, and so I try not to get in their way. So guys that are just, they're getting buckets, and they're playing well, and so I think that's probably the thing that stood out to me the most. That is just seeing how they just go out and they compete and they're scoring the ball, and they're against two really, really good teams. And like you said, Pratt on Saturday, I mean, that was a tough game. They're a really good team. And, we just had some guys that went out and played ball and did a great job.
You had your returners that you kind of maybe expected to, have a huge impact this year. Anyone that stood out to you on this year's team so far, Coach, that, I don't say surprised you, but has really had maybe a breakout year so far?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously we have Seabass and AJ and Kamari, and everybody knows who they are, and they've been doing a fantastic job for us. They've, I mean, they're carrying us offensively, and they're incredible. But I will tell you, I absolutely love Mason Bonds. He does a great job for us, and I still think he can do more for us offensively as we start to find him more. But he's just a competitor. He works really, really hard and plays great defense and can play multiple positions for us. And just love his overall toughness and attitude. Maddox Drumright, he's a Wichita State baseball commit, and I think he was one that I think we celebrated him deciding to come out. I mean, he's a Division I baseball guy. He could very easily just go get ready for baseball, but just absolutely love and respect the fact that he wants to help collegiate basketball as well. And I know at least when my family tunes in back home, that's their favorite player. Those are the type
Nice.
of players they're used to seeing. I mean, he'll dive on the floor, take charges, offensive rebound, all those things. And I think probably one of the biggest bright spots is Shad Issa. He's kind of playing we call it a dunker spot. We don't really have a true big, but man, I mean, I think at Christmas break, he was shooting 94% from the field, and just battling, and he's playing through some injury, and rebounding and guarding the other team's big. And it's a challenge for, a taller, bigger guy to play our style. And he's definitely answered the bell. So, those are kind of the guys right now. You could throw in Jai Johnson as a freshman, hasn't really played in 2 years due to a knee injury. So to throw him in there and, what he's done, I think, all of those guys have been great.
Hey, Coach, appreciate the insight, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Cole. Appreciate it.
That is Nate Schmitt, the head coach of the Wichita Collegiate boys basketball team. We'll have more of Kansas Sports Chatter right after this.